Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lion's Den Show. And here's your host, Cody Robert Judy.
Hello and welcome to the Lion's Den Show. I'm your host and your toast, Cody Robert Judy. Cheers. Today is March 23rd and we have an interesting show for you today. As many of you may know, Donald Trump and Whoopi Goldberg got into it on the ABC show, The View, today, as Mr. Donald Trump said he believed Obama should show his birth certificate. And Whoopi Goldberg retorted back, why? Because he's black? Today's show is going to show you why both Donald and Whoopi Goldberg are wrong in their suppositions, impromptu as they may have been. Run that clip from ABC The View, please.
Why did he have to defend himself against an accusation?
Because if you're going to be the president, because if you're going to be the president of the United States, it says very profoundly that you have to be born in this country.
But did any president do that today? Did George Bush not be the president?
Why did he want this even if it's
Probably he was.
No one has ever asked George Bush or said to George Bush, I'm sorry, is Hawaii not part of the United States?
George Bush. And I'm not saying I was a fan of George Bush.
No.
You know that better than anybody. But George Bush was born in this country. That's
isn't Hawaii still part of the United States? Am I blind?
Do you question whether he was or not because he hasn't come forward with it?
I grew up in New York. Wall Street was a big part. I have seen fraud, and I have seen scandal, and I have seen things that a lot of people don't see. I've seen people take a $100 bill and make it $1 million bill.
We're going to have to pause. Get to the point.
Okay, the point is, I can't rely on some newspaper that they show that...
In order to become president of the United States,
I want him to show his birth certificate. I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh, my God.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Whoopi, I'm telling you. Whoopi, I love you. I'm telling you.
I love you, too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
The question is, why not show it?
Really good student at the best school. I'm not like a smart guy, okay? They make these birthers into the worst idiots. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? I think he probably... Because I have to, and everybody else has to, Whoopi.
I'm sure.
Why wouldn't he show... Excuse me. Why? No, excuse me. I really believe there's a birth certificate. Why? Look, she's smiling. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what? I wish he would, because I think it's a terrible pall that's hanging over him. He should show his birth certificate.
There's something on his birth certificate he doesn't want to show.
It's not because he's black.
Let him show. Has nothing to do with that.
Because any white president asks to be shown the birth certificate. When you become a president of the United States of America, you know that he's American.
America can no longer ignore this problem. We cannot be afraid to face it through a third political party. First, let me say, last night I just watched this really good movie. It's called Glory, starring Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Carrie Elwes, and Morgan Freeman. It was directed by Edward Zwick. The movie was an incredible movie that won 3 Academy Awards and was about the first black regiment that President Lincoln authorized to be formed to fight the Civil War. Their mental, emotional, and physical anguish at coming to grips with fighting for the United States and in such our U.S. Constitution that at one time discriminated against some men because of color. What a triumph that was to see when that black regiment fought so bravely for the rights of our Constitution, eventually declared for all men. I want to say that what Whoopi Goldberg said today was a disgrace to those men and their memories and that made up that regiment and fought for our civil liberties found in the Constitution, because also found in that Constitution, not in an amendment but in the original articles, is the very closely guarded protection that the United States people have come to sustain. This is the republic for which we stand. It's not a mob rule as we can understand by democracy, and that Constitution original article contains the natural born citizen clause for our president. Our United States is a Constitution republic which clearly outlines the qualifications for our president, and they are more than just being a citizen of the United States. The U.S. president must be a natural-born citizen, not just a citizen as defined for a representative or a senator. If you have ambitions to be a representative or senator in Congress and you become one, that does not give you the right to run for president if you're not a natural-born citizen. The difference between being a citizen and a natural-born citizen understood to be separate and is distinct, as a natural-born citizen must have 2 citizen parents and be born in the United States. This entitles the potential candidate for president a loyalty born of soil, which encompasses the natural instincts given to a person, and it also entitles the potential candidate for president a loyalty from parental heritage, which encompasses the nurturing instincts afforded from having parents who are U.S. citizens. This is the supreme law of the land and has remained such throughout our U.S. history, even while it has been addressed by Congress as recent as 10 years ago when a change was thought to be needed. The appeal for change failed and the requirements were upheld by Congress and, in such, by the people. Now this is a process, there is a process to change, but so far that has not happened. For Whoopi Goldberg to say that it's racist or even infer the reason Donald Trump was asking about Obama's qualification of the office was because he was black is a disgrace to our Constitution. And it's certainly a disgrace to every black person who has fought for our civil rights outlined in our United States Constitution. We all have reasons to love our Constitution and to uphold it, but to infer the racial preference when questioning a constitutional principle and pillar is pretty un-American and racist itself. I've never really thought of Whoopi Goldberg as a racist, but is clearly an easy trace when in questioning the eligibility of a person who is not qualified either by his dad's British citizenship or his soil birth of Kenya, for it's never been proven, Whoopi Goldberg, that he was born in Hawaii. Never! Which is why Donald is sitting there asking, and why 7 in 10 Americans are asking, why don't you show the birth certificate? You remember when Obama said, here, don't you? Run that famous $6 million clip, that 6-second, I call it the $6 million clip.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide. The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
What more needs to be said, Whoopi? Why can't you just hold your man to this promise there? Now, out of all the potential Republican candidates for president, Donald Trump deserves a hand for at least bringing the subject into the Republican arena, because there haven't been any others, shall we say, straw poll candidates willing to even say what Mr. Trump has said. I think he should show his birth certificate. There's something on it he doesn't want to show. It was clear that Mr. Trump didn't know that Obama was ineligible to be president because of the law at the time of his birth disqualifying him as a British citizen. While it's true Obama never has shown his long-form birth certificate, Mr. Trump notes that he has seen the frailties of financial fraud committed in New York and knows that human potential to commit such doesn't withdraw itself in the political arena. The plain and simple fact that he didn't know is Obama's father is a British citizen, and that makes Obama unqualified for a U.S. president. It's also very quickly grips every American with fear, because if we don't have a qualified person in the White House, then we have effectively an unqualified use of our military in sending attacks out in our defense and interest for the United States. We have effectively no qualified authority in the IRS collecting taxes. We have effectively no qualified authority in the judicial and legislative branches, because the checks and balance system we have is broken down with Obama as a British citizen, stupid. The executive branch has a sworn duty of enforcement of the law. If the judicial branch interprets the law and the legislative branch makes the law, their enforcement of such has stopped with the fraud of the executive branch in Obama. The thing that Mr. Trump didn't know is that I, Cody Robert Judy, sued Senator John McCain, Mrs. Whoopi Goldberg, Miss Whoopi Goldberg, because he wasn't qualified either, and he was naturalized by an act of Congress after he was born. Mr. Trump was not armed with the facts to equally assuage the damage to the Constitution by the Republicans in the 2008 candidate, Mr. McCain, which I, Whoopi Goldberg, did challenge as a presidential candidate before Mr. McCain was even made the national Republican nominee. This information was had neutrally by the jury, however, who found Obama guilty of fraud in New York in the CIA Columbia-Obama sedition and treason trial. So, in some sense, I do understand the frustration of Whoopi Goldberg, because she immediately may have understood McCain was let off the hook by the U.S. Senate with Senate Resolution 511, which declared him a natural-born citizen. Although it was a resolution that was not authorized by Congress or signed by a president, so it did not replace our current Constitution's qualifications demands for president. It is also a pretty easy line to draw that if Senator McCain was allowed to run, being born on Panama soil and being naturalized by an act of Congress after he was born, that Republicans shouldn't pick on Obama's eligibility. Out of all this, it should be very confirmed in the American public's mind that the Republican and Democrat parties have run right over us, roughshod, right over our republic. And if we don't clear our government of these distasteful and deceitful and dishonest actions, we are inviting the Lord God of heaven to visit us with a certain destruction that will come. Right now we may still have a choice. However, that may depend on a few who see this forwarding it to everyone that they know, because if you see this and you don't forward it to everyone you know, can you look at your reflection in the mirror and say you were aligned against the Constitution, and so you were just part of the destruction of the United States Constitution, and in such the United States? I'm Cody Robert Judy, running as an independent for conservative patriots in America. Cowboy up, spur 'em in the guts.